2 minutes with Bob Costas. Jordan Robinson, you've got 2 minutes.
Here we are, 1080 The Fan. This is Jordan Robinson interviewing Mr. Bob Costas. Now, Mr. Costas, I have a question for you. Beyond the flight that you may have taken back, how's the red eye?
I have a microphone. I don't know where you're going with that, but I find that extremely inappropriate. I had a condition, wasn't able to go. Is this what you do? Is set people up, sandbag them?
Just trying to check your temperature there, Mr. Costas, and notice the last name. That's why I have that respect for you. But in another tone, I would like to ask, what was the biggest takeaway that you experienced while in Sochi?
Anytime you're at the Olympics, it's about the athletes, and you see people in that true nature of sport and people competing, and it's why the Olympics is one of my favorite events that I get to cover every couple years, and just being around young people and the true nature of athletics. It's a wonderful experience.
You mentioned that the Olympics was one of your favorite events that you get to cover regularly. Now, when looking back in the rearview mirror, what would you say is one of the ones that sticks out the most in your memory that you did get to cover?
There's so many, and I think I'll actually go with Sochi, even though obviously there were some difficulties. I think anytime you do the last one, it's almost like children, or if you're a musician and you're doing albums, you always remember the last one that you did, and you remember it fondly because each one has its own unique moments, its own special things, and maybe the challenges that came along with doing Sochi will kind of ring true that I was able to kind of overcome those things and still hopefully give the viewers an excellent broadcast.
We're here at 1080 The Fan with Bob Costas, Jordan Robinson, checking in with him. Now, Mr. Costas, you've covered numerous sports throughout your tenure in doing this. You've done it for a very long time.
Uh-oh. The time got you. Always tough parts of interviews. Always tough parts, but nice job, Jordan. Let's go over to the boss, Jeff Austin, and it's sometimes tough with another sports celebrity, not necessarily an athlete, to get going with them.
We've all also had interviews where we recognize something physically wrong with the person we were interviewing, like a bat in the cave or something like that, a little mustard on the chin or whatever it is. So that's not easy, too. That was distracting. Usually you don't, I would say never will you want to interview somebody and call them Mr. or Mrs. Very rare, maybe a head of state or something like that. It's only usually you want to put them at ease and make them feel like, a contemporary. In fact, Bob probably would have said that to you. Hey, you can call me Bob. It wasn't easy because, of course, he didn't take the pink eye question well. But what I would have liked to have heard you ask was, what was it like for you when you had to leave the stage and go back and sit in your room for the Olympics? What did you do? How did you feel? Did you were you able to watch the broadcasts, and how did you keep up? What was that like? And knowing that you had the most famous pink eye case in the history of mankind, kind of give me a peek behind the curtain with that. I thought you were in command of the interview. You were smooth, so that part of it I liked. It's kind of tough to be inventive with the questions when you get it right like that. If you'd had a few minutes to think about it, maybe you could have gone into that with him. But I would like to see a little more of a peek behind the curtain.
Got a few thoughts from Dusty Hera.
I thought your command was you did a really good job of being in command of the interview. I'm with Jeff because I didn't know if I was the only one thinking, but the fact that he said it kind of reaffirms that I think everybody was wondering what was Bob Costas doing in Russia. Other than that, I thought it was good. I think that Suk railroaded you at the very beginning, knowing that you're one of the front runners in this competition, to see how you would react to it. And I know that everybody up here has been in that situation where there's a question that doesn't go well and you handled it the right way because you kind of got to kiss his ass and get him back on the right track. I thought you handled it about right for how somebody would when the interview starts going sideways.
All right, Jordan, let's get a thought from Coach Isaac.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think why Suk did that is because Bob Costas is going to be a very serious interview. And, as an interviewer, you got to know what kind of vibe the subject is going to give you, and everybody knows Bob Costas, and you wouldn't have asked him about the red eye. It may be in other ways, like Jeff was talking about, in a real interview. That may have been more for the crowd, and I think that would be how Bob Costas would handle that, although he did laugh that off when Matt Lauer asked him about that. But you're not Matt Lauer. So that was tough. That was a tough way to get it started, but I did think you recovered well. The thing I would like to see more, Bob Costas is kind of a tough interview subject because there's a lot of depth to him. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could have gone with him, and I would have liked to seen you get into a little bit more of a really in-depth interview with Bob Costas, baseball or whatever. But, other than that, I thought you handled it well, considering there was some adversity. You did fine.